We're going to use a diagram to write a plan for a proof. So we want to prove that triangle DAB, so this triangle here, is congruent to BCD. And we don't have to prove it, we just have to come up with a plan. So the first thing I want to notice is this is a right triangles, two right triangles, and that my hypothesis or my hypotenuses are congruent. So what I want to do is use the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem to prove that the triangles are congruent. Triangles are congruent. And the way we can do that, remember on the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem, that all we need is the hypotenuse is congruent, and so is a side. And this is or the legs. So this leg is congruent because they share this side. So we have, I'll just put 2 marks there. So we can use that to prove that the triangles are congruent. And then I'm going to use the fact that, and this is going to be a new term, since the triangles are congruent, that means the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Now we're going to use this a lot. So in geometry, what they do to shorten this is they use the first letter. There should be a big O and a big A here. And they're going to start writing it like the corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So you only have to write it that way instead of writing this whole sentence here. If we know the triangles are congruent, then we know that the corresponding parts are congruent. Since these triangles are congruent, that means these angles are congruent, and it also means these sides are congruent. Okay, because the triangles are congruent. Now, the next one, we want to prove that ST is congruent to RQ. So notice here, these right here mean they're parallel. So what I want to do, and we just have to write it, because ST is parallel to RQ, then by the corresponding angles postulate, we know that angle PRQ is congruent to angle RST. So PRQ, this angle, is congruent to RST. So now that we know that, we're going to use the angle side angle. Let's look what we have. We have an angle side angle, and that means, so we're going to use angle, side, angle, this is one. Angle, side, angle, congruence postulate. To prove that the triangles are congruent. So, we know these two are congruent. So we have angle, side, angle. Since these lines are parallel, so that means that the triangles are congruent. So triangle A, let's see, where are we? Triangle PRQ is congruent to RST. Then we're going to use the fact, since our triangles are already congruent here, then we can use the fact that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And you just write it like that. So get used to this. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So once the triangles are congruent, we use this. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.